It was really inspiring to hear Zara speak earlier on when she was just talking about so much optimism, which is really quite extraordinary when you think what she has endured, the fact that her husband was also executed, and what we are seeing on the streets right now with teenagers and young women being killed.
There's an even more sinister development this week where primary school children are being rounded up in schools and taken to psychological correction facilities. In other words, they're being treated as you must be insane if you're against this regime. And some members of the Revolutionary Guards and the paramilitary Basij are appearing at schools and insisting that head teachers provide lists of those girls, even primary school girls that have refused to wear the hijab, and they're then being rounded up and taken off to these psychological correction facilities, which has echoes of what happened in the Soviet Union. This is a very sinister development. The West cannot remain silent about what's going on in Iran just now. I mean, we're into our fifth week. This has started as an insurrection. It is now developing into a revolution.
When we spoke earlier on to Zara, she was encouraging people to speak to your own governments wherever you are in the world about what's happening on the ground and encourage that change. I mean, how optimistic are you about what is happening on the ground and whether change will come?
Well, all of the previous uprisings, and there have been many, particularly the horrific, the uprising in the end of 2018 and 2019, when 1,500 people were shot dead by the Revolutionary Guards. But these uprisings usually started because of complaints about the economic position that Iran found itself in. This is different. This is substantially different. This is young people, and mostly led by women, who are objecting to the human rights abuse that they've suffered for years under the theocratic mullahs regime. And this uprising is being coordinated by the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, by resistance units that have sprung up right across the whole of Iran, in towns and cities everywhere. They are taking huge risks to their own lives and indeed paying with their lives to coordinate this uprising. They are successfully hacking into state television broadcasts, showing pictures of the supreme leader on fire with a gun sight trained over his head. And that's why people are now chanting on the streets, women, life, freedom, or death to Khamenei, shouting for the downfall of the regime and the downfall of the elderly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
With your knowledge of what's happening in Iran, do you think the regime is feeling genuinely threatened by these protests for the reasons that you've outlined, that they're different to previous ones?
They're like a wounded animal thrashing around now in a panic. They're using batons, steel rods, tear gas, and firing live ammunition at the protesters. Young girls of 14 and 15 have been clubbed to death with steel rods because they dared to take their hijabs off and dared to join the protests. A person last week who honked his horn in his car when he saw some of the protesters to show his support for them, the Revolutionary Guard smashed his window and then executed him, shot him dead in his car. This really is beyond the pale now. The West has to stand up and be counted. We have to say to these young people, we back you 100%. We back the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, the official opposition, which incidentally is led by a woman, the amazing Mariam Rajavi. We have to say that these are the people we support, and we want rid of this regime to bring freedom, peace, security back to the Middle East and back to the 80 million population of Iran.